Hello. Uh, this is a real rough video of for Energy Volt, and because I've been working on gravity turbines on paper for a long time, I've tried to make ghetto versions just using stuff laying around the house of stuff, but can only get so far, and I'm stripped for money. So, but I seen y'all's system, and I realized I had something that could help you guys with the efficiency of your system. Let me try to figure out what I'm doing here. All right. So bear with me to the end of the video because it gets more, there's something more potent at the end. But basically, you guys got a system that lifts up the weight and stores it in battery. But here you wouldn't need to, with this design, if you had to implement this, build some tanks that go underneath your weight and make them a ballast. You fill this with so much water, it's in the sink state, turning your turbines, and it could be connected to another ballast or counterweight on the other side of the turbine, and it goes down, generating electricity, pump water out, goes back up, pump water in, sinks down, pump water out. And there's only a certain threshold that I would hypothesize that you need to go from sink to float, so you're saving electricity on charging it. But and here I try to make a kinetic version, so I wouldn't need electricity. But I'm no physicist or engineer, so I'm limited on my resources of tools. And this is just something I put together, just thinking about it for a little bit. But basically, you got like a plunger pump, which when it reaches the top, it hits a brace, pushes the plunger pump down, and the dimensions of this isn't, like I said, I'm not an engineer. I don't know math on that level to make this dimension proportional to where it's most efficient, or to put the check valves in a certain areas and stuff like that. But basically, this is a tube that you push it down, plunger pump, check valve that keeps water from flowing this way, but allows water to flow this way. So when it pushes this way, it's pushing, the water is pressing this way, this check valve is keeping it from going into that way. But on this side, it's allowing it to fill the ballast up with water. And that's what I'm saying. You'd have to mathematically have the proportions right, so where it fills it up with just the amount of water to make it sink. Then when it gets to the bottom, this would be all right, that got pushed down. This part would be extended out. And then when it got to the bottom, it would press that one up and make the plunger go the other way, causing suction, which would then allow this one to work and purge water out of the system. Now, here's with the ballast and that kinetic pump. And like I said, you got engineers that could expand it, like make this way better. But it goes to the top, presses a brace, pumps water in, starts sinking, goes to the bottom, presses this up, sucks water out. And this would have to be hermetically sealed to keep it contained, so it's not just leaking water out of here. But those are a check valve for in and a check valve for out. All right. And then here's where it gets real potent, because this is just a spherical design with a turbine in the middle, which would go all the way down probably. And there's a DC motor. I don't know if it would go all the way down or just meet here. But anyways, I didn't really work. That was a minor detail I'm not really worried about. But like the turbine, when it goes down, it's filled with water, it goes down, turns the turbine, right? And it charges a battery or a capacitor or something of that effect. And that DC motor charges for your pumping system. So it's going down, it's charging, and then it takes the energy for the pumps water out of both of them. Or there's probably been several around. I'm not sure. There's many ways you could do it. But it'd pump water out, then it would float, turning the turbine again. When it gets to the top, there'd be electronics in there, pump water, suck water in, and then sink down again. But this is the reason I said this one's more potent, because this is not only for gravity turbines, and you could even use this in the ocean and stuff like that. There's a way down here for stability. that goes around. But you can use these, say like about the size of a basketball to about or bigger, and you can put a fleet of them in the ocean with telemetry on them. Well, this will go. It only takes so much energy to go to the sink state once you put it in the ocean, and it'll sink. I don't know how far, but I would imagine it would go quite a ways. Then when it gets to a certain level, release it's gathering data, and then it would go to the float state, pump water out, go all the way to the top. Probably had to do some stuff to keep it from shooting all the way out. I'm not sure, but anyways, I mean with the force, But when it gets to that point, it can send out data through satellites and stuff when it gets to the top, and then commence on going back down. And there's more details to it, I know, but that's just a rough basic concept of it. But also you could use this as, and it probably wouldn't be spherical in this sense. I have another design. I just can't seem to find it right now. That's better suited for this being a air drone. You charge it up at first, maybe kinetically with your hand or something, and then maybe have a crank on it or something. But anyways, once it goes up into the atmosphere, in the air, and then it floats down. And this is just a thought experiment. I never really tested it out. I don't know if it's really capable of doing this, but as a drone, if it's charged up, it floats, it rises in the sky. It's an air drone. And then it has probably lasers shooting out around it. You can use all kinds of different telemetry stuff, like depending on which field needs it. And then, let's say it has lasers shooting out 360 degrees all around to do surveillance for anomalies for something that's a threat. All right, it's up in there. It goes down, generates electricity, charging it, and it pulls itself back up by using the propellers to rise. And then it goes back down, charges back up, expels the energy by raising itself back up, goes down, and so it's in the air. But I'm not really sure what you could use that for, because I'm not aware. I've just realized, like, when I was building this for gravity turbines, I realized it had the potential to also be a drone. And there might be cases where you use it in the ocean too, and it shoots out and then goes in the air state. I'm not sure, but I believe the military would use this to, like, say this is on the sides of a submarine, and the submarine leaves one floating, because they can stay in the ocean if it's at a certain level, right between, and it sinks, goes back up, sinks, goes back up, while it's doing reconnaissance. And then when it senses a submarine or something, it goes up, and then it sends out a signal. And maybe the submarines could even have them attached where they release these to send out data packets onto satellites, or just all kinds of stuff. But I seen y'all's gravity bank, and I was just I've worked on this a lot, on paper, and throughout the years since about, I can't remember the year. I want to say it was like 2007, 2008. But I've come up with the rudimentary key that anything that moves vertically or horizontally could be used for gravity turbines and stuff like that. And I could go into more detail. There's like some other potent stuff, but like, if you guys are interested in anything, any of this, holler at me. Maybe we could work something out. I'm very reasonable. Like, I just want to put this stuff to rest, really, because everybody thinks I'm crazy talking about gravity turbines and stuff. And nowadays, there's all kinds of people using gravity batteries, and they're like, they already have that. I'm like, yes, they do, but there's more designs. But anyways, if you're interested, holler at me. Let me know what's up. My number is 580-715-1108. Again, that's 580-715-1108. And have a blessed day, and thank you for your time.